Welcome. We are Cinema Gulp. And this is our spooky Gulp review of Venom.
So, in association with Marvel Studios, but nothing to actually do with it in any way, shape, or form, is Venom. Hi, everybody. I'm Compost.
And I'm Lethargic.
And we just saw Venom. And that movie was a hell of a lot of fun.
Even though I can sometimes feel a bit run down, this movie was a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a blast because it just didn't take itself seriously at all. I'm leaning more towards just Tom Hardy rocking the hell out of this movie and being so funny and so off the wall and quibby and different. Like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know much about like Eddie Brock or any of that stuff. I know a little bit, but the way he played him, I'm pretty sure that's not how he is. This is just how Tom Hardy chose to do it, and I think the movie's better for that.
I agree with that. I mean, I think we both don't know much about the source material when it comes to Venom and the comics, or what Eddie Brock's character should have been like, but I enjoyed the characterization they brought to this movie, and I think Tom Hardy is the one to credit for that.
Totally.
He's such a quirky, unique actor. He's done a lot of different, diverse roles over the years, never really coming back to the same role. Playing things different every time he gets a new opportunity. This was an opportunity for him to do some really wild, creative stuff. Definitely some of the standout best parts of this movie is when he's getting to talk to his inner self and play up the Venom side of things. And I hear there's a lot of that maybe didn't make the movie, so that's a shame.
This could have very easily been just a stoic, boring guy and then has this inner conflict going on. This movie, we're talking about how good Tom Hardy is. It just wouldn't work at all if it wasn't for how he played the character, because there's not enough else going on in the movie that's interesting other than Tom Hardy's performance and his back and forth with the symbiote. They call it different things like 5 different times in the movie.
I think they just didn't know how to pronounce it. That's what it was.
And that's funny. But I think that's why you choose someone like Tom Hardy for this, to make people start talking about it, like, ooh, what did he see in this? And then you see that it's just because it's almost like he was ad-libbing or like just through a lot of it. Yeah,
it's certainly a better iteration of this character. Even though we don't know a ton about it, I think it's a better iteration of the character than what we got from Spider-Man 3. What was the actor? I'm sorry.
Topher Grace. Not his fault.
Yeah, not his fault.
I know all about you. Like the fact that Spider-Man won't let you help your poor daughter.
This made me actually interested in the Venom character to some degree, where that one totally kind of ruined any hope for seeing, Venom in a cinematic form be an interesting character.
Well, that movie, in Spider-Man 3, he didn't even seem to have an inner conflict or another thing to talk to. He just became a bad, mean villain murderer as soon as he got exposed. And that was the whole thing. Like, this is some really funny dialogue between Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and the alien who steals the frickin' movie. So funny.
Yeah.
And they didn't overdo him either. He only had a couple of key, like, long set or action scenes. The rest of it was all Tom Hardy doing it with him in his head.
You brought up a point about how, we're entertained whenever it's the Eddie Brock and Venom and their inner conflict and stuff on screen. But then you get the subplot with our villain, Riz Ahmed.
The Life Corporation.
Yeah, the Life Corporation. The villain is the area where it really does feel dated. It's just like this character is straight out of just, cheesy 90s.
It's easy for the villain to sound dated when he's saying things like, do not let him get away. And he goes, initiate the launch sequence. Yeah, it does change the movie a lot. And you don't even see, almost like they were filming all those things separately, because you have, like, on one hand you have all the Eddie Brock stuff, which is ground level stuff in San Francisco, and then you have what looked to be Tony Stark's mansion every time I looked at it. Right? I wasn't crazy. Like every time they
on the side of the mountain.
On the side of the mountain. Yeah. That's a weird science lab. It's such an evil science lab. If you get sold on Tom Hardy immediately, no matter what curveballs this movie throws at you, you're kind of just into it. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, then you're gonna fucking hate it.
Yeah. It does have a little bit of a horror movie element, especially at the beginning. The director being the guy who made Zombieland, he does kind of play into his strengths from the past and do a little bit of a horror movie intro to this movie, which was kind of fun to see.
The last 5 minutes, they're like, oh, and by the way, here's the strong guy on my planet, and we have to fight him now.
Yeah, and then it falls into the typical tropes that we see in so many comic movies where you have the hero, anti-hero in this film, fighting a version of himself at the end.
I was thinking, what were you thinking more? The Incredible Hulk's finale or Black Panther's?
The Incredible Hulk
I was
finale,
thinking both
because they look so much like Indomitable Snowman or whatever the fuck his name is.
Indominus Rex?
Yes. It felt like one of those, before the Marvel formula was so set in stone for every comic book movie or whatever DC's doing. I don't know what that format is, but, it seems like that's all we kind of get right now. So this was kind of just a throwback. It was refreshing to just be fun.
Okay, so let's get into a couple of the gripes about the movie, because it's not a perfect movie, folks.
No, not
it's
at
not
all.
even really that good of a movie. It's just it's just a fun movie. But
yeah.
I had a problem with action scenes. I wasn't invested into them. I thought that they kind of lost control. They didn't make a lot of sense. It wasn't even excessive action. It was kind of like dull action where it really should have pumped up how cool he's going to look on screen, demolishing people, and they just didn't go for it. That's why I think the R rating would have worked. What did you think about that stuff?
Well, yeah, I agree. The action I wasn't that invested in the action at times. A couple of the hand-to-hand fight scenes were kind of cool, but the bigger, car chases and stuff weren't that exciting. I think the editing was a bit choppy. That had a hand in me not getting so invested in those scenes. There's a lot of bad CGI in the movie. Some movies, this bad CGI just distracts me to where I start hating the movie, and it didn't really in this movie.
You had mentioned the other characters and stuff like that were decent because they didn't fall into that typical thing like Michelle Williams and the boyfriend character. And I agree. I actually was kind of worried that Michelle Williams is doing this movie because she's been stated saying she's only ever done one movie with any CGI, and that was that Oz movie. Though not a terrible movie, but you could tell she was just not knowing what to do because
yeah.
I think you really have to get used to acting that way, like acting to a wall or a tennis ball or a bat or something. And I thought she was fine in this. When it comes to Michelle Williams, I'm distracted sometimes because she's like an angel. She's like it's like the best way to describe her. She's like a beautiful, perfect pixie that you just want to rescue every day of your life. I don't know what it is about her, but sometimes I get distracted when I see Michelle Williams in a movie, even if she's giving a good performance. And I thought this one was good. It didn't overuse her, though. I think for Fleischer, I don't think it's possibly as well crafted as maybe Zombieland was, because that was more of hey, just here's a small budget and make something fun.
Yes.
Where this one, you probably had so many different things pulling at you, but he still did tongue-in-cheek it with a wink and a nod, I think, to a certain extent.
A wink, a nod, and a Wilhelm scream.
Yes! There was a freaking Wilhelm scream in this movie, which brings it up a quarter gulp. Critics seem to hate it. I understand why. I do. I totally do. I get it. But I just happen to be on the side that thinks it's fucking fun.
I get it too, but because I think in the end, I don't think either one of us, when we get to our score, I don't think we're going to give it a super high score. So we're kind of even though we had a good time with the movie upon repeat viewings, this movie's not that well made. It's not that strong of a movie.
No.
All the secondary characters that kind of suck and ham it up in this movie, and the secondary subplots with the villain that are so terrible. It's not a really great movie, but it was entertaining. So Compost,
yes,
you've been heaping the praise on this a little bit, but let's hear what your actual Gulp score ends up being for this movie.
Okay, well, I'm not going to reiterate our review. Just rewind it if you want me to do that. It was a fun movie. I was happy to see that I enjoyed it while I was sitting in the theater because I just wasn't really that interested in this movie at first, and then I had heard it wasn't very good. But because it's Halloween and it goes along with our month of October theme of just a little bit more than some of the other new releases, we decided to give it a go. And I enjoyed the movie, so I gotta go 5.75 gulps for me.
I have to agree with you. I just had a blast with this movie at times. Wasn't expecting much, so it was just entertaining on a level where I just turn my brain off and forget about some of the holes in the script and enjoy the great wacky performance you get out of Tom Hardy. I'm going to go with 4.75. I know that sounds low, but that's still kind of in a middle-of-the-road entertainment value for me.
So as always, we hope that you enjoyed this Gulp review of Venom. As always, click like and or subscribe to Cinema Gulp today. And we appreciate you leaving comments in the comment section below. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Look for us under Cinema Gulp. So until next time, we are Ben. No, we are John. We drink your cinema.
I drink it up!
I'm going blind into the light. I'm going blind into the light.